Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
Today's question comes from Andre in Indiana. I'm being managed out of my job at my current employer. When I realized what was happening, I got ahead of it and have turned in my resignation so I won't have a termination on my employment record. I have several interviews lined up and I'm not worried about finding another position. My question is, how should I approach obtaining a letter of reference from my current employer should I need it? Well, you're going to approach it now before you leave the building, number one. Number two, you're going to approach it with some gratitude and humility and just say, hey, I appreciate this opportunity to be here. And I would love if you feel comfortable being a reference for me and give me a reference letter upon request. Are you comfortable with that? It's just a man-to-man conversation or man-to-woman conversation. And that's about all you can do there. And hopefully you've left well. We don't know what the situation here is, but I'm such a proponent for people leaving well. Even if you feel like you're not supposed to be there anymore, even if you feel like you've got some tension, you feel like maybe it wasn't the best situation for you, leaving well and not burning that bridge is always the right way to go, because you have to assume that any future employer is going to call your past employer. And so humility and gratitude and class would be the three ingredients in the ask. And by the way, with every remaining second you have at that place before you leave, act with class.
Yeah, smile, act with class, do everything. So most employers, Andre, do not give references on formers because of the liability.
Right.
And so we don't. If someone calls here, the only thing we'll confirm is that they worked here between this date and that date. And that's the only thing we'll tell you. We won't say whether they're awesome.
I didn't realize that. That's good for me to know. I did not. I've heard of that. I didn't know that.
Because we don't want to get sued.
Right.
Because we referred them or told somebody, this guy's he wasn't good.
Right.
And then you turn around, you get all this other stuff on you. So we just, and that's not that unusual in the employment market. We've learned when we're trying to check references, it's tough to get people to actually give you a reference. I want to sidestep, Ken. I want you to coach for a second here, and I want to join you in it. Let's pretend that Andre, I'm going to make up something for Andre. I don't know anything about him, so this is all pretend.
Sure.
Okay. Let's pretend he's 26, and this is his second job, and he says, I'm being managed out of my job. Now, if you were working at Ramsey, we don't manage people out of a job. We do manage them if they're not competent. We're going to talk to you about it and help you work on your competence. Mm-hmm. We do manage you and talk to you about it and create uncomfortable conversations if you're not handling your relationships with others inside the building well, if you're being a twerp, okay? And so being the potential employer of someone in this situation, I wouldn't take the position I'm being managed out.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a pure political situation going on. Just because someone tells you to suck it up, Buttercup, and get better, that is not being managed out.
That's correct. So if I were coaching Andre, I would ask a lot of detailed questions. What does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And to the best of my ability, be able to discern, well, you're not being managed out, or maybe you are. Now, what it's going to look like in this case, if we're assuming what he's saying, is that someone is basically being or making you as uncomfortable as possible, not in a way of leading you for growth and having an uncomfortable conversation with your growth in mind, but actually being a turd to you to get you to quit because they don't want to fire you. Does that happen? It does.
Yeah,
but in this case,
that's bad leadership.
That's bad leadership. So I would be asking enough questions to find out what's really going on. And to your point, if they are holding you to a standard that they hired you to keep, you aren't being managed out. You're being held accountable for what they're paying you for. So I would be diving into what's really going on and then coaching from there. Yeah. And in many cases, and I'm going to say this.
Just because you're uncomfortable.
That's right.
Doesn't mean you're being managed out.
That's correct. Or held to a standard.
Right.
And so what we got to determine, we're seeing this a lot with the younger generation. Accountability is really, really hard.
We had one a while back that just couldn't seem to get to work on time. Wander in an hour late. And we say, well, you're creating stress by, yeah, that's kind of like what we do here. We create stress for you. You need to be here on time. If that's stressful, just suck it up. I mean, that's,
Right.
I know, I'm sorry about your anxiety. Get your butt to work on time, okay? This is what we do. And so, and that's about how it would sound. I mean, we might be a little kinder than that, but,
Sure.
It's a pretty simple thing. We open the building at a certain time, and you need to be here by then.
Yeah.
And
you have to reframe that. It's not creating stress, right? They say
I'm not
that.
creating stress,
No,
but it's
they
like
think
anyone that ever told me I'm not perfect and the apple of my mother's eye now is managing me out.
Exactly.
That's
Or
that's just a
creating
bunch of crap.
stress.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there's two possibilities. You're being that. I'm not saying that Andre is, but if you be careful when you're using a phrase like "I'm being managed out," you are taking the position of victim, and you might not be the victim.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You might be the victim. You might be a bunch of political junk, and they're moving the chess pieces around, trying to knock you over and get you out because they don't want you there, and they don't have the backbone to just fire you.
Right. The metaphor I would use here, Dave, is are you being coached or are you being mistreated?
There you go.
And a coach, and I usually return to sports because I grew up playing sports. I still
Discomfort
watch it.
does not mean you're being mistreated.
Yeah, I watch these NFL training camps. These are millionaires, and the coach is pulling them off the field, and they are coaching them up. They're getting out those little Microsoft pads on the sideline, and they're showing these young quarterbacks that are franchise quarterbacks. Here's what you did wrong on this interception. That's not mistreating that kid. That is coaching that kid on what they expect of them because they're paying them millions of dollars a year. And the same metaphor holds true in the workplace. Yeah. Is your leader coaching you?
Are they mistreating
or are they
you?
mistreating you?
Yeah, that's true.
There's
That's
wide
exactly
gap.
what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, because we spend a lot of time and money to hire you
Yeah.
and get you in here.
That's right.
And so we're not going to manage anybody out.
It costs you more to replace them.
Exactly. We're going to try to help you make it.
That's exactly right.
But that may involve discomfort.
And it should.
Usually doing something you've never done before or something you suck at and you got to get better is discomfort. It's not comfortable. It's outside your comfort zone.
A quarterback feels really uncomfortable when he runs off the field after throwing an interception because there's 75,000 people that are mad at him and his head coach. But guess what? That's the price of admission.
That's the ticket to the being me. Yeah. So step it up. Yeah. So again, I think that's a good clarification. Are you being coached? And if you are, expect discomfort because that's what's called growth.
That's right.
And you're moving up and in. If you're being mistreated, then you're being managed out. But either one of those could fall under this phrase. I don't like the phrase, is what I'm saying.
It feels very victim. I felt the same thing when I saw it.
Yeah, and it could be that he might be the victim of some toxic politics.
It very well could.
Being mistreated.
That happens all the
true,
time.
yeah.
There's no question they're bad
because
leaders.
spineless leaders will do stuff like that that's passive aggressive rather than just fire somebody.
That's right.
So you don't have that trouble here. We're going to tell you this is what we're doing. If it doesn't work, we're going to tell you it didn't work. We're not scared. We're not afraid. And we're not mean. And we're not unkind. Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.